Welcome into the show. I'm Hannah Hoover, and it's time for Crashing the Boards. Brian Keating, he has the night off, and boy, has it been a week for basketball. From the Thunder at the NBA Cup, then taking care of business in Florida, to college basketball, men and women's, and of course, we'll get to that in just a bit. But Sunday evening, big news for the Thunder, great news actually for the Thunder. Alex Caruso has agreed to a 4-year, $81 million contract extension announced by General Manager Sam Presti today. Caruso is one of the key leaders behind the Thunder's dominant defense that is first in the league in defensive rating. Now, $81 million is the most the Thunder can legally pay Caruso. The two-time NBA All-Defensive Team guard has shined with the franchise so far this season, averaging 5.7 points and 2.9 assists per game off the bench. He's also averaging a career high of 1.9 steals per game this season. But contracts aside, and that is very good news, it was a long stint of road games for the Thunder, a brutal schedule with a lot of wins, all but one loss in that NBA final game against the Milwaukee Bucks. But the Thunder determined to bounce back, and they did exactly that. But let's roll back the tape and look at that NBA Cup Finals game first. Shai, he had 21 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and the Thunder were up one after one, and this was back and forth in the second quarter. Jalen Williams, 2 of his 18 points, but it wasn't his best day. Bucks up 1 at halftime, and Giannis with 26 points and 19 rebounds. You know the story, 10 assists. He was the MVP for the Bucks, so they ran away with it in the second half. And here's a word from the Thunder's head coach after the game.
When you lose a game like tonight, it gives you wisdom. It gives you information on yourselves.
Being as young as we are, to kind of simulate being in a different city for however long and kind of having like a playoff feel to it. So it's definitely good practice.
We got to take some of the lessons from this, good and bad, apply it forward, but obviously we weren't good enough on that end tonight.
Well, the Thunder rallied back in the win column. They go, playing Orlando on the road. The Magic giving the Thunder a bit of a scare even without their top 3 players. But OKC, well, they found a way. Shai leading the team with 35 points. Another big showing for the defense. And then it's Alex Caruso, the man with the new contract. He had a fun little 3 there early in the second. Final score 105-99. And then, not traveling far, they head to Miami, Florida, where it was Lou Dort with 14 points Friday. There's 3 right there from the outside corner. Then you have a little fun with Cason Wallace. He gets the ball, he takes it down court for 2. Jalen Williams with an impressive shot, twisting his body here to make the basket, and a little trickery there at the end. We see 3 more from Williams later on right there. Final score 104-97. And Monday, it's back on the court at the Paycom to continue proving the Thunder's dominance, facing the Washington Wizards, who are only 4-21 on the season. Here's Shai, because he's a little frustrated that they don't get to play on Christmas Day.
Disappointed for sure. I'd love to play on Christmas Day, and I think we're that caliber of team. Now the NBA makes their decisions. We can't slight them for it. It's the ball's in our court to prove to them why we deserve to play on that game, and we have a whole 82-game season in the playoffs to do so.
Well, maybe we'll see the Thunder in future Christmas Day games. But let's talk a little college basketball, shall we? An underrated team, OU men's basketball, was ranked 15th in the SEC preseason poll. Now they sit at number 2, right under Florida, and number 14 in the nation. Today they played in Norman against Central Arkansas, so let's roll the highlights because they're fun. With a season high for Duke Miles, collecting 29 points on the day, starting early with a 3, then it's Miles again, making just about every single play of the game. Jokes aside, Jeremiah Fears also had a day, 19 points, and Jalen Moore added 17 for the Sooners, who are now 12-0, one of 4 unbeaten teams. Final score 89-66. And the women Sooners having a little fun as well. Reagan Beers matched a career high with 28 points, and Skylar Vann had 12, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. And Kirsten Johnson, she added 12 points for the Sooners. They're 11-1. Number 10, Oklahoma rolled past Omaha, 111-65 on Sunday. And Oklahoma State playing Oral Roberts, the men today. Arturo Dean with a steal there at the end of the first. A nice little Euro step for Dean, and there's 2 more. Marcellus Avery, he gets in the mix later, a double team there. He feeds it to the big man, Abu Usman for 2, and Usman leads with 19 points. Final score 86-74. Those Pokes, they win it. Well, over in women's basketball on Saturday, everyone's playing this weekend. It was Iowa State facing the OSU Cowgirls. Anna Gray-Aussie there with 3 to get the Cowgirls started. Micah Gray, she had a great day, leading with 24 points. Final score there in Stilley, 81-75. Cowgirls get the win to go with their 11-1 record. Here's their head coach.
Today was just a really special win for our program for very obvious reasons for me personally as well. I just felt like I had a lot of people who depended on me today. And it was really important for me to show up for them. And I'm so blessed to coach a team that showed up for me.
Well, good news because we have more college basketball tomorrow. 12-0 OU men's play Prairie View, and 8-3 Oklahoma State has Houston Monday in Stillwater. So stick with us. Next is a look at the college football playoff and what it is to come here coming up New Year's Eve. We'll be right back for more Crashing the Boards. Well, round 1 of the college football playoff is complete, and there were plenty of first-round blowouts. For those who maybe dozed through it or flipped to more compelling fare in the NFL, here's a brief recap of the rollout of the much-anticipated college football playoff. The average final score, by the way, winners were 36, losers 17. In 4 games, not a single one was closer than a 10-point margin. So let's start with Indiana versus Notre Dame, shall we, for that Friday night game. A big swing of momentum for Notre Dame. Riley Leonard, he hands it off to Jeremiah Love, and he finds the gap, breaking away for a 98-yard run for the first touchdown of the night. Then it ends up being Notre Dame again. Leonard to Jaden Thomas this time. They get a touchdown again. Indiana gets back in the game at some point late in the 4th quarter, but it was just too late for a comeback. Notre Dame ends up securing the win and advancing to play Georgia in the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day. Okay, let's go to SMU and Penn State now. Quarterback Kevin Jennings for SMU gives Penn State the lead, throwing right to the defender, and they take it all the way to the house for a pick 6. The defense putting those points up on the board for Penn State, and SMU fans shaking their head. It happens again. Jennings throws another pick, this time to Tony Rojas, getting past the Mustang offense, and Rojas is rolling all the way into the end zone. The Stangs offense never got in rhythm on Saturday. Final score there, 38-10. Penn State, they blow out SMU. Then it was Clemson versus Texas, which just is a fun one. Quarterback Cade Klubnik finding the wide open man, Antonio Williams, in the middle of the field. Touchdown, Clemson. They get on the board first. But that is not how this game went. It was the rushing attack from Texas that made the difference in this game and helped them stay dominant with the handoff from Ewers to Jaden Blue there. He had 2 rushing touchdowns on the day, and so did running back Quintravion Wisner. The final score there, 38-24, and Texas advances. Here's what Steve Sarkisian had to say after the game.
What made your rushing attack so effective tonight?
Well, we committed to it. That's probably halfway my fault before this, but we committed to it. I thought we blocked things really well, and the runners trusted it, and they were hitting it.
What did Quinn Ewers show you tonight that will be important for him to carry as you guys continue on in this playoff run?
Well, he made a lot of plays for us when they were on time, and he made a couple plays off schedule, which are critical for us as well. But I thought he managed the game beautifully. Had bad luck again on the interception, unfortunately.
Well, last but not least, it's Ohio State hosting Tennessee in the cold. Willa Howard, he airs this one out. A beautiful touchdown pass and catch to the freshman Jeremiah Smith. Tennessee's offense struggles, but Nico Iamaleava, he scores here, and Iamaleava only threw for 104 yards, no touchdowns, compared to Will Howard's 311 with 2 TDs and an interception, going 24 for 29 on the day, I might add. Ohio State jets past Tennessee, final score 42-17. So here's a look at the college football playoff quarterfinals up next. First on New Year's Eve, it's the Fiesta Bowl, Boise State versus Penn State. Then New Year's Day, Peach Bowl, where Arizona State and Texas, they'll square off. The Rose Bowl, Oregon will play Ohio State. And lastly, the Sugar Bowl, Georgia versus Notre Dame. But back at home, it's home for the holidays for Oklahoma State football, with plenty of change in Stillwater. An overhaul, if you will, with Mike Gundy still in command. We'll get to that in a bit, but first let's talk about the Sooners, because there's been some significant change in Norman as well, with a new offensive coordinator and Ben Arbuckle for the 2025 season. But they still have a bowl game, and Joe Jon Finley will be calling the plays, with Arbuckle coaching quarterbacks, starting Michael Hawkins Jr. at QB. The Armed Forces Bowl will start at 11 a.m. next Friday down in Fort Worth at TCU Stadium. Now, for the biggest news in Stillwater, here's a look at who is on the staff at Oklahoma State. Head coach Mike Gundy, of course, strength and conditioning coordinator Rob Glass, and the special teams, they're still intact. But here you go, a new offensive coordinator in Doug Meacham from TCU, Kevin Johns from Oklahoma, quarterback coach, and new DC Todd Grantham from the New Orleans Saints. And that's just to name a few. With the transfer portal and NIL money on the table, there seems to be an overhaul with more than just the coaches. Stick with us for the latest from Oklahoma and OSU on the transfer portal right here on Crashing the Boards. Well, it's good news for the Sooners this Wednesday. They officially landed the #1 quarterback in the transfer portal and former Washington State quarterback John Mateer. Mateer, he has 2 seasons of eligibility left, and this comes after the hiring of Washington State offensive coordinator Ben Arbuckle. He brought his quarterback with him, but he will not be the one calling plays, as we mentioned, in the Armed Forces Bowl. He'll be coaching quarterbacks. After backing up Cam Ward for 2 years, Mateer took over as the Cougars starter in 2024 when Ward left for Miami, throwing for over 3,100 yards, 29 touchdowns, and a 65% completion rate passing. But this guy can also run it, with 826 yards on the season and 15 rushing touchdowns. Oklahoma hopes this is the answer they need at quarterback, and predicting offseason moves is truly impossible, but especially for the Pokes, with an almost completely new set of coaches, they will have to adjust and fill in those gaps. Today, Oklahoma State picked up a few notable transfers, the most notable LSU cornerback J.K. Johnson, according to On3 Sports. The former Ohio State transfer, he was a top 100 recruit. We'll see what he can do. Also on the list, transfers from New Mexico, Utah State, and Purdue. It's fun to follow this. It's fun to track the transfer portal, but it's not one of those things where we have confidence at this point what if these are truly wins or how they will pan out. The Pokes are in a complete rebuilding season, it's safe to say, with a whole new set of coaches. The Sooners hope they have found their quarterback of the future to rebuild as well. But we will see how things shake out in 2025. We got plenty of time. Thanks for joining me on Crashing the Boards. Have a great rest of your night.